got
Nope.
it. I found it. There we go. Okay. We are recording. Okay, well, welcome to um, our art lit training today. As I said, my name is Emily. I have a third grade student in Mrs. Griffin's class. His name is Gabriel, and I'm excited to be working with Anna and Allie, who might be coming tonight, and just getting these last two lessons for the remainder of the school year. So thank you both for being here. Appreciate it. I was hoping we could just introduce ourselves if you're comfortable, or if you've got your, family. It's okay if you're like, no, thanks, I can't speak right now. But Anna, if you would like to introduce yourself, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll read anything from the chat if people want to
Okay.
post stuff there. So I'm Anna Nanda Holly, and she, her pronouns. I have a Lyra in second grade at Miss Titchener's class, and Madeline in fourth grade, um, who's in Miss Anderson's class. And this is my fourth year being involved with Art Lit. And I'm excited there's so many dedicated volunteers, and this is our first trial on Zoom. So excited for that as well.
And Deanne, I know you told us a little bit about yourself at the beginning. You said you're volunteering in Miss Brophy's class. Is that right?
Yes, my granddaughter, Terriana Oliveira, is in her class. So,
Oh, cool. Great. Thank you. That's wonderful. Hi, Marie. Uh-oh. Can y'all hear Marie? I think I can hear her. I don't think we can hear you. Oops. I don't think we can hear you. Um, and I also went to the next slide accidentally. I'm gonna exit out of here. Sorry, Marie, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Oh,
I think
yes. Yay! And I'm gonna pause this so we can hear you even better. So,
so I have three kids that I'm doing art lit with. So Eliza is in kindergarten in Mrs. Higgins' class, and then Ben is in third grade with Mrs. Griffin's class, and Clara is in Mr. Lee's class in fifth grade.
great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I get to work with Marie in Mrs. Griffin's class, so that's awesome. Thank you, everybody. And so we are just going to go through a few things tonight. We're going to talk about the Beaverton School District curriculum. We're going to talk about what's new, um, what to expect for this lesson and moving forward into next month. Hi, Allie. Allie just,
Hi.
hey,
Is it just us so far?
just us.
Sorry, I'm a little late.
No,
No,
you're good. You're good.
we've also got Marie and Dina on the line. We just did introductions. Nice. Hi, I'm Allie.
Thanks for being here, Allie. Yeah, so we are looking at we know that it's in April, like you kind of have your own flow going already. But we just wanted to cover just the logistics and the coordination tools just as we move forward and with the change, I think it's always good to kind of regroup and go over the basics. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We'll go over the lesson. We unfortunately on Zoom, the limitation is right, like we don't have the materials for you to do, but it's a pretty straightforward one, and we'll be able to just show you really quick, and you can ask us any questions and give us your thoughts and feedback along the way, and we will go from there. So, what's new? So, we are excited because the Beaverton School District is developing new lessons that are really more geared towards the K-5 students. So they are creating lessons that are shorter, that are created from more of an equity lens, and are just more appropriate for our little ones. As we know, some of the materials that we've been working with have been just a little bit difficult for the younger students to access. So we're excited that there's going to be some different materials coming out. They are going to be updating the lessons as they go. So some of the lessons that we get might be the new ones that you'll see today, and some of them might still be the old ones, and we'll have to kind of go through that together and adapt together. Um, so we're excited about that. One of the things you'll notice is that there is a short video. It's 5 minutes at the very beginning, talking about the artist and the background of the art. And it is created by the Beaverton School District. And so it's been vetted and approved by them. And you'll notice that it's with an AI voice, which is kind of funny at first. But the reason why they do that is because we have over 100 languages spoken in Beaverton School District. So it can really easily be translated. And, we have to think about this isn't just for West TV, this is for all the elementary schools in the school district. So it's a pretty cool thing. And then next month, we'll be moving on to learn about Van Gogh, which is a really fun lesson. And next year, we'll just continue on. So if you're interested in joining the Art Lit team, or if you'd like to help out, we'd love, love, love your help. So just let us know. Do you have any questions about any of that so far? Okay, cool. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna send these slides out to you so you can click on all the links. I won't click on the links right now, but this is just an overview of the procedures for kind of like the nuts and bolts of how do we do this when we go into a classroom and we're working with other volunteers? How do we make sure that we can have this run smoothly? So I think you'll find too, with the way that the lessons are set up, there's not a slideshow like maybe we've been used to. And there isn't really, something that we just read from. There's some of it's kind of like we need someone who's going to lead and read the material and be able to present the lesson. So it's like, who's going to be the leader? Who's going to be the person that's leading the lesson? And you can decide with your grade level teams how you're going to go about that. If you're going to split it up, if someone's going to take the lead the whole time, who's going to be the support person, who's going to be the scheduler, that kind of thing. So I'm curious if y'all feel that that's going okay for you at the moment, or if you have any questions about that, or if you feel like now we're in April that you've kind of got the swing of things so far. How are you feeling about that, Deanne and Marie?
I feel like it's going well. Yeah.
Okay, good. Good, good, good. Great. Do you have like a system where somebody is sort of leading the lesson, like kind of whoever can make it to the training is the person who's leading the lesson, or
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
that's great. Yeah, that works out really great. Thank you for sharing that. Any questions about that so far?
Nope. Ours has been pretty easy to coordinate as well.
Yeah,
So
thank you. Great. Okay. All right. Moving right along. Okay. So this is again kind of the nuts and bolts kind of stuff, making sure that we're communicating with the teacher and asking them what works best for them. Some volunteers shared this morning that they have a time that they've have established throughout the year, and Anna was sharing that that can be really helpful. Like we do Mondays at 2:30 or not 2:30, that's the end of school. Monday at 2. Um, and so just having like a time that's set. So if that works for you, that's great. The important thing is signing up on the ArtLit calendar and making sure that you're not doubling up with another grade level and making sure that that time is available. Oh, I've got somebody coming in. Here comes Monique. So yeah, does anyone have any issues with the ArtLit calendar? Are you feeling pretty comfortable using the ArtLit calendar? Any thoughts or concerns about that? Nope.
No.
Okay, perfect. Great, 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 great. Okay, moving on to the technology. Anna.
Technology. I'm not an iPad user, so this is always good for me to articulate. And first, I just want to interject and say, like, thank you for all bearing with us as we go through these different slides because you'll see, I already know this. I've been doing this since, the beginning of this year and for years. Welcome, Monique.
Yes.
Coming for a fifth grade parent. So we know that you're all very familiar with all these things.
Sorry, I
And
have a bit of post-dinner chaos here, so I'm just keeping myself muted.
You're all good.
um,
No worries. Thanks for coming.
yeah, and it's going to be recorded and shared too. So you can look back at what we've done. But each of these slides, like, yeah, this is all familiar stuff. You've always known these things, but we're trying to set up a presentation that can be repeated and started for next year when we get new parents. So any feedback you have is super helpful. And some of the logistics have been familiar to us, and some we're uncovering different ways to move forward and make things work well. So tech's pretty much the same. There's still an art lit iPad. You check it out from Susan Booz in the front office. Always good to check that charge on the iPad when you receive it, because we picked it up yesterday and it didn't have any charge. So Susan also has a charger that she can send you with to the classroom if you need to. And you exchange that for car keys. And then, so we're still mirroring the screen to watch the video because it's not a slide deck anymore. There will be a video for April that has been produced by the Beaverton Art Literacy curriculum leader. And on the iPad, on the home screen will be the Google Drive. And if you look at the bottom of that screen is the starred items where we're only putting the materials that are needed for the classroom under that starred thing. And there's a page in there that also has just the straight link to the YouTube video and a link to the music that was playing at the beginning of our session here that you can play while students are doing the activity. And ask for help with technology, ask for help from the teachers or your co-parents. But I know everyone here has been doing this program for a while, so hopefully no challenges. So on this slide, we just put some tips that we've experienced for success, and just be warned, I'm going to ask all of you to share any tips you have from doing art lit in the classrooms. It's been really helpful to arrive early or to talk with the teacher so you know what the students will be doing before you arrive. It was shared in the morning meeting, schedule a time that it's going to be a good follow-on activity. If they're coming from one activity to the next, the teachers know really well how their classroom transitions. But if you get there a little bit early, set up that tech first and connect the iPad, get that YouTube video queued up, get your materials out, and depending on the students in the classroom, and all of like your own students and their classmates, of whether or not the materials stay back until it's time to touch them, or if they can go out on desks while kids are on the carpet, or however that is. Make sure learn a lot of these tips from Len. Check in with that classroom teacher of like, when is the hard stop for the end of the lesson for whatever they need to transition to next. When you've got your materials, think about how much time is really going to be need to clean up. And not for this April lesson, but for other lessons, to figure out with a teacher if students are going to use their own desk materials or classroom materials, or if the materials that are provided by ArtLit, because sometimes there's just things like scissors and glue sticks and pencils and crayons. And sometimes the teacher will feel that it's more convenient for the student to use their own, or that they prefer to use the ArtLit. So just have that agreed, so then the materials can be returned to the right spot afterwards. Another tip that's been really handy is some students might finish the activity really quick and they look at that adult that's been with them in the classroom for the last 45 minutes and go, what do I do now? So talking to the teacher and finding out exactly what they want the students to transition to. And sometimes it's great to learn that the exact wording of it's their choice reading time or dream box or whatever else, the way that their teacher kind of um, instructs whatever activity is appropriate. Um, and another is just um, practicing encouraging comments when you go through with the art. Some kids get really stuck in their head about, I'm not doing it right, or it's supposed to be this way because they've seen these examples. And all of you've got probably some great experience up your sleeve for like how to keep kids on track. You're the artist. They can make the creative decisions that they want. And also refer things back to the lesson. Like in this one, it's like, oh, why did you choose those colors? What did they make you think of? What's something that we learned from Jenny Alvarez? And then just want to ask everybody now if there are any additional tips that you'd like to share. And maybe if Allie, if Emily, if you can remember things that were shared this morning, that would be great too.
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about this morning, and we'll get into this too when we look at the lesson, but um, kind of if, because you will have a little bit more talking time with the students and setting up the lesson with the students with this new format, um, just kind of practicing like setting the expectation, like one of the big things in this lesson, it's from the Grand Ronde tribe is being respectful and thinking good thoughts. And so kind of going back to that and helping kids remember, hey, remember, we're going to be really respectful with each other and we're going to remember what Jenny said in the video and think good thoughts. And so that can be helpful too, just to remember to set that expectation. But we've all been doing this for a while, so I know that we're doing that already. So that was just something that we talked about this morning. Um, any other tips or words of wisdom for the group? No worries if not. I know it's the evening and we're probably all just like tired at this point.
Only thing I mentioned this morning that I kept running into last year was a couple of the teachers want to put it at the end of the day. And I think it's helpful to not have it be right up to the end of the day, that there's cleanup time, time to put away things, time to let the class kind of tidy up whatever they need to do, get out of the teacher's hair. I think it's difficult when the class is being dismissed and we've got to get everything out of there. We've got to grab our kids. Kids are outside. We're still in the storage closet. So that's the only thing I've run into that I think is a good thing to know is just don't, at least give yourself like a 15, 20-minute buffer right at the end of the day. That's all I've got.
Awesome. Thank you. That's actually a good segue for us to talk about the end of the lesson and things to remember.
Tips and things to remember for the end of the lesson. One is to distribute the artist statement. So one of these, like third sheet description of the artist and the artwork, there's one that goes along with every lesson that we do. And I know sometimes they've been available in the ArtLit box and other months they haven't. So we are doing our best to include these every month. I know teachers have been asking for them, what happened to these statements. And so at the end of every lesson to remember that these go along with the artwork. If it's on paper or canvas, sometimes these can be glued to the back. With this project for April, it's not something that can really attach to it, but to make sure that that gets shared. To ensure any borrowed materials are returned to the teacher, whatever you agreed in the teacher before, like, yep, they can use their scissors to make sure that yourself and the other parent volunteers aren't gathering all the scissors and putting in the scissor bin to take down to the ArtLit closet because they actually came from the kids' desk. So just kind of undoing what you had decided in the beginning, to bring the materials back to storage, tidy, ready for the next classroom, as good as how you found them or better. And to look at the materials, the amount of materials, and consider, is the next class ready to do it? If there were 2 classes the following day, are there enough materials here? And that if there might not be, to just go ahead and email the art literacy email or that text, that phone number is Emily's number for any materials that are running low. And that's just super helpful because you don't want to be that parent who comes in and goes, oh, and I'm sure it's happened before that either everything's a mess or there's not enough materials and you've got to scramble to find them. So we've also laminated this sheet that has that email address and phone number to be in the Artlet box downstairs, just to remind people. And then before you hand the iPad back, I always forget this, is to really get a good look at the charge level when you hand it to Susan, because she's really great at saying, does it need to be charged? And I usually go, "Ah," when it's already closed and I'm walking out the door. But to check that charge level so it can get plugged in and be ready for 1 to 2 or more classrooms to do the program the next day. Any other tips from folks who've done it before? Great.
I guess one thing I would say is just sometimes if you can, like share information like with your same grade level, um, or even among grade levels, because I think sometimes like materials take a really long time. Like sometimes when we use the watercolors, they just take those things, like it's better to leave them open and they just take a long time to clean up. And I don't know, just I guess sometimes I guess sharing those tips, we would always do it between the two classes, but I guess it wouldn't be a bad idea to do it amongst the classes. For
I
people
love
that are
that.
for people that don't have a bunch of time at the end, or just like knowing, I just remember the watercolors in particular are like a thing.
Yeah. No,
So,
that's so helpful. I mean, even today, this morning when we were doing the bead activity, we're like, how are we going to put these beads away quickly? Like this is, just those little tidbits that help you save time. And, we came up with, with the idea of just, take out the big beads really quick and put them over here and then dump the rest. So it's just like little stuff like that. Maybe we could have a spot to put that information for folks. We can think about where that could live. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just polling the folks here, would you be more inclined to be able to share and retrieve that knowledge if it was like written notes on the cart, or if it could, the other thing we are pondering is like a doc on the iPad that's just like an open doc, and then all of us can see it like a Word doc in the Google Drive of like, this worked well, or hey, I did it this way, or we're out of this. I don't know. So any ideas are great.
I
I
think
kind
either
of
one
feel
would
like,
work. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead, Marie. I didn't go ahead.
Um, I was thinking like either if it's written and pasted on the lid or a Google Doc, like as long as it's in the box or on the iPad, then you'll be able to see it and like know to look at it.
Yeah. Okay. Did you have something else to add, Monique?
Some of it was like always good to know ahead of time just so you can plan for it. So like both of those modes are great, but they're kind of more in the moment as opposed to like if I'm blocking my calendar, knowing that I need to block it for like 2 hours because the cleanup is like bigger than, whereas if I didn't know that information until I got there. But we always have a good team and I'm only have 3 more months at the school, so you can forget about what I'm saying. But I just think sometimes like knowing a couple days in advance and sharing that information is good, but I don't necessarily have a great mode of doing that other than just like crowdsourcing after school or before school when you talk to other parents. So I don't know. I mean, I guess if you know the grade level teams of people that do art lit, then just maybe it's just a message to encourage them to talk to each other and think about what worked well and what didn't. So maybe it's just sort of a that kind of a thing because that's so.
Yeah. No,
But that doesn't negate the putting it on the lid of the art thing or putting it on the Google Drive too.
yeah.
So
It's probably just a matter of like how people work, and that's fine. I think we could do both of those things. We could do, I'm thinking about like a parking lot of like place, if you have a good idea that worked well or that totally did not work well and didn't go well, you could put it somewhere. We could come up with somewhere to put it. And then I can just email that out to folks so that they have it ahead of time. Anyway, we can kind of play with that and figure out a good way, but those are all really good ideas. So,
Or what if we had a Google Doc in the quick link email?
mhm. Yeah. Yep.
Just
That's a great idea. Yes. You can check it before or you can check it when you're there. Up to you. Mhm. In fact, I will show you. I'm actually going to see if I can get out of the slideshow because we are about to. Are we ready to jump into the lesson or do we want to share anything else about the logistics? Are we feeling good about logistics? Yeah? Okay. All right. Um, I feel like Zoom, feel like I'm really confident and know what I'm doing one minute and the next I'm like, I don't know how to do this. Let's see if I can jump out of here. Aha, there we go. Okay. Can y'all see my screen that says quick links? So on the iPad, if you go under starred, on the iPad, it's going to be on the toolbar on the bottom of the iPad. But if you click on the little star, it'll take you to this document. And like you said, Marie, I could add another link here, like, or something like quick tip, cleanup is going to take forever. Give yourself an extra 10 minutes or whatever. But this also has my, if you're like, help, we all have those moments where like, oh my gosh, or if I suddenly your child is sick and you need to, whatever, like just text me. And here's the email if you need it. Um, but this will have the links that you need for that lesson that you need to access really quickly. So this first one is the YouTube video, which I'll click here in just a sec. And the second one is the approved tribal music that we can play while the kids are working on their project. The really beautiful thing about this lesson is that the Grand Ronde tribe reviewed and gave recommendations for this lesson. And so this lesson really is done in partnership with the Grand Ronde tribe, which means that all of the things that the kids are doing, they really are. It's almost like they're in direct, communion or something with what the tribe really, really would like for the students to learn. So it's a really special thing. So I think that's one thing that is important as we move forward is making sure that we're following the lessons to fidelity because there is a lot of thought going into the lessons, and the school district is really working on making sure that it's really accessible and respectful and through an equity lens. So it's important stuff. Okie dokie, let's watch the video so you can see what's going on. And we're just all going to cross our fingers that this works. It does. Okay, hopefully y'all can hear it. I'll make the screen big and here we go. You can sit back and relax.
Today is art literacy. We're going to learn about a special group of people called the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde. We'll discover why the tradition of beading is important to their culture, and then we'll get to make our own beading project. This lesson is made with approval and guidance from our friend Jenny Sanchez. She is a Grand Ronde tribal member, Silit's descendant, and beading artist. She is also the federal program facilitator for the Beaverton School District. So let's dive right in and learn about Jenny's tribe, the Kalapuya, which are part of the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde. Before settlers came to Oregon, Oregon wasn't called Oregon and had no state lines. It was a large, vast landscape, home to many different people. These people all belong to unique tribes, with different cultures, languages, and traditions. In fact, the land we live on today is Kalapuya tribal land. The Kalapuya tribe had lived in this area for thousands of years. They hunted and fished and gathered plants for medicine and food. They raised families, built homes, and they took part in trade from all over the area and beyond. They traded camas plants, beads, and obsidian, along with many other items. When settlers arrived in the 1800s, the Kalapuya tribe and several other tribes were forced from their land to an area called a reservation. The government changed the tribes' names to the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde. Today, their descendants continue to care for and share their culture, language, and traditions. We honor their efforts and acknowledge that we are on Kalapuya land. One of many traditions the Confederated tribes of the Grand Ronde maintain is the art of beading. The art of beading is the process of creating designs and patterns by stringing or weaving beads together. Beading connects many people to their cultural traditions by using beads in art, storytelling, and ceremonial pieces. The Kalapuya tribe, like many tribes, used beads for a variety of purposes. One way they used beads was to decorate regalia. Regalia is special clothing and accessories only worn for important ceremonies. They used beads for self-expression. Individuals would bead a favorite item to express something about themselves. They also used beads for trade and currency. The very valuable beads were used like money.
So I'm going to pause it for just a moment. This is where you will have this paper on the cart. It's called Optional Questions for Grand Ronde Presentation. It looks like this. And this is a moment for you to pause if you choose. If you're like, no, thank you, I'm going to keep playing the video. We can ask these questions at the end. Or if you don't get to the questions, that's fine too. But these are some questions that you can ask to connect to the lesson and have a little talking time for the students. So one of the questions you might ask is, it says the Grand Ronde tribes wear regalia for special events. Have you ever worn or do you wear something special for a celebration or holiday to show how important it is to you? And you can have that discussion with the class. Um, Another question is, do you have a favorite piece of clothing with a designer symbol that helps expresses who you are? Talk about that. Or if you could design your own outfit to show what's important to you, what decorations would you add? Okay. Any questions about that? Okay. Here we go.
People would use them to buy things or trade them for something they wanted. One very important type of bead was actually a shell, a sea mollusk known as a dentalium. The Kalapuya tribe and many others used dentalium as money. Why was it so valuable? Because they were only harvested from a certain part of the ocean, and gathering them was difficult and dangerous. Dentalium was rare, and it took a lot of work to trade them over long distances, which made them even more precious. The more dentalium you had, the richer or more important you were. But dentalium wasn't the only type of bead the Kalapuya tribe used. They also used animal bones, stones, and olivella shells to name just a few alternative bead materials. The arrival of the Europeans changed how the Kalapuya tribe and many others used and decorated with beads. The Europeans introduced a bead with a new color and material. They brought glass beads from Murano, Italy. The most important color of glass bead was blue. The color blue was everywhere in the Pacific Northwest. Many tribes felt blue connected them to the earth. Blue was in the ocean, the sky, and the waterways. However, there was no plant in the Northwest that could produce a blue dye. So if you had a necklace of blue glass beads and dentalium, chances are you were pretty important. The art of beading was and still is a traditional form of art passed down through the women of each tribe. Keeping with tradition, Jenny learned to bead from her mother and grandmother. Today, when you work on your beading project, Jenny wants you to think only good thoughts and relax. This was taught to her, and it's what she wants to pass on to you. Calm your mind and have a good spirit. When choosing your colors for your project, Jenny would like you to think of the Pacific Northwest. Perhaps you love purples at sunset, or greens, yellows, and blues of summer by the river, or the colors of the forest high in the mountains. Whatever colors you decide to use, be sure to thoughtfully choose them. Remember to have a calm mind as you string your beads. Understand that you are honoring generations of the Confederated tribes of Grand Ronde with their blessing. Be respectful, think good thoughts, and create a project that is a part of you. Thank you, Jenny, for giving us permission to learn about your history.
Okay, that's the end of the video. You can kind of hear that sort of like AI voice a little bit, but it's pretty good. It's not too bad, but sometimes you can kind of hear the little robotic voice. At this point is when I would get the music ready for when the kids are doing the production. And you can go into the quick links and you can click on the YouTube link that will take you to the music. I have a button covering the pause button on the annoying. There we go. I moved it. Okay. So what you can do is you can choose which song you want to do. These are songs that are sung by Jenny's tribe, and so it's really cool. You will have to mirror screen and use YouTube to play the music. One thing that we noticed this morning when we were playing the music is that there were sometimes some ads that would play like before the music would start. It didn't happen this time, but it did on the iPad. So just being ready to like mute and skip the ad. It's a piece of feedback that we'll give, but I'm not sure if there's any way around it at the moment. So just kind of be ready. There might be an ad that plays and who knows what the ad's going to be for. So just be ready to mute it and be ready for that. Okay, any questions about the video or the music?
I'm just going to add in a quick note that so Emily and I were able to meet with the person who leads the art literacy curriculum for BSD, and she let us know that they're doing a major overhaul of the curriculum. And there will be some that are in the new way that are very similar to this, some that will be more familiar to us where we've seen some of the materials. How the art lit was previously managed is lended a lot of that adaptation that really has needed to happen for quite a number of years. And so, but now the Beaverton School District is doing that. So the videos are all, when they're the new ones, they're all going to be the shorter 5 minute is what they're aiming for ones. And would be just really curious, especially interested, Marie, at the end of the school year to hear your feedback, especially as a parent who's doing kindergarten, third, and fifth, where it's kind of one set of materials with just less guidance on adaptation, but still very basic. And the instruction that we were given from the district is that everything has been very carefully vetted, and this one is permission from the Grand Ronde tribes, and that they've asked that we do not add anything, add any content, add any slides or information. We can remove things to make it more appropriate for different grade levels, or if it's just overwhelming for a particular group on a certain day, but to find to subtract, but anything to be added, that's something that they'd like to vet.
Yes, thank you. So we are going to be making necklaces with students. And you'll notice on the production for volunteers that it talks about using modeling clay. And there were two options for this lesson that were given to us. One was to use the modeling clay to make the beads, and one was to purchase the beads. And so we decided to purchase them for this one because of time constraints and just trying to pull it together. And so we will be using beads. The kids are not going to be making their own beads, but they will get to choose their beads, and they will get to think about which beads speak to them. And, as they're thinking their good thoughts and calming their bodies and creating their necklaces. So I'm going to try and show you, and I know Allie's going to jump in here and show you all the amazing materials that she purchased for us to use. One of my favorite things is that she bought this string that is like sinew. So it's really similar to sinew. So Allie, if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about how to use it, and we'll jump in.
Yeah. So, like Emily said, we could have gone with string, but the suggestion was for sinew, which I guess traditionally is, I read it was the inner parts of animals. We are not using that. We are using artificial sinew. So Anyway, it looks like this. It's string. It feels very waxy. So right away, I just did this with my kids about an hour ago, and I did it last night as well. Right away, they said, "Why does it feel like this?" It does feel really unique. Again, we could have gone with string, but I feel like because we went with beads instead of making beads, and just for the sake of keeping it as close to the intention of the lesson as possible and kind of trying to stick with honoring the indigenous tribes, I think it was a good idea to go with this. Okay, so to begin, this string sinew, it does have kind of a raw end. It's hard to see on a video, but when you get your hands on it, you'll notice that it does kind of separate. If you have trouble getting the sinew through the wood beads, you can split this. It feels a little bit like dental floss. It does separate pretty easily. And if it does get frayed as you are trying to get it through the beads, some of the beads, because they're wood and they're all a little bit different, can't see in my camera, some of them are challenging to get it through. I think the project itself is pretty straightforward and simple. When you're done, this is what it will kind of look like. Very simple, straightforward beaded necklace. I think part of the fun, but also the challenge is working with the materials because really at the end of the day, it's a pretty simple necklace. The kids at home had a hard time getting the kind of frayed edges through some of the beads. We found that if we kind of manipulate it, if we go at it from a different angle, if we kind of work it, if we kind of retwist some of the ends as they fray because they are waxy, that does tend to help. So I think, again, part of it is just taking the time to help the kids feel successful and get it through the beads because that is a little challenging. The string will be pre-cut. The sinew will be pre-cut to make a necklace to fit over the head. It'll be oversized so that, because obviously it's not stretchy, so it needs to just be able to slip on and off. If the kids choose to make bracelets, they're welcome to do that. But remember that it needs to be loose enough to go on and off. It's not stretchy. When we did the lesson earlier, I had the kids tie a starter bead, like a holder bead, to the end of the sinew. Instead of doing it down here, a lot of kids want to put it right on the end of there. Instead of doing that, put it down a little ways. That way, if the bead, oops, if the bead stays there, you still have room on the end to tie the necklace when you're done. But this way, especially for the younger kids, it will help them keep the beads on. As we go, and I'm sorry, I had a bubble that popped up that is covering this worksheet, so I can't actually read off the worksheet right now. I can't seem to exit it out. But basically, you're going to get your beads. We have 3 different kinds of beads. We have these colorful wood beads. We have somewhere that I can't seem to see at the second. We have some really, really fun, unique wood beads that are going to be in a separate bin. The beads were much more expensive than I anticipated ordering, and we need quite a large amount for the number of the kids in school. So we do, thank you, Emily. Yep, they look like that. They're really unique, kind of bigger, chunky ones, and same here on the end of this necklace. They're quite cool. We are going to have to limit the number of this type of beads that we use. For cost purposes, I did make the executive decision to order bulk pony beads. They're not as original, they're not as fun, but they will work in the event that we just run out and we hit our budget. So we're going to have these more kind of traditional beads mixed in. We're going to have some funky beads, but we're asking the volunteers on the really painted, interesting wood beads to limit each student to having at the most maybe 3. Otherwise, we will run out. I think that the way that it makes the most sense to distribute the beads is to have the leaders of the project get paper bowls that we've got in the bin, kind of hand put some beads in the bowls, distribute it to the tables. Each kid can have about 20 to 30 beads. We're going to ask that no more than 20-ish beads go on a necklace, or we will hit kind of the end of our numbers. They can arrange them in whatever pattern they want. I had my kids kind of lay the pattern out in advance on their table and then string the beads after they were happy with their pattern. One of the things that my kids did really enjoy was thinking about, the blue represents the sky and the water, the green represents the plants, the purples and the pinks and the oranges can be a sunset, the brown is the soil. They kind of really enjoyed that. And with the music playing in the background, I was surprised how into it they got and how much meaning that actually carried for them. So I thought that was pretty cool. So this is a pretty peaceful project. I mean, I think it's going to be fun. I think it's straightforward. But like Emily said, and like Jenny said, the designer of the project, I think the intention is just to be thinking positive thoughts, to be thinking about what they would have done in nature. I also thought it was fun. A couple of my kids, well, both my kids complained that the holes, like I said, of the wood beads were not easy to get things through. And I said, well, think about what it would be like if you were making your beads, if you were making them out of a shell, if you were making them out of wood, if you were carving them out of a rock, like what would that wouldn't be a uniform, straightforward bead. You'd have to get creative. They'd all be a little different. So I think that kind of adds to the fun of it. I've lost track of where I was at. Girls, do you want to help me out and kind of?
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah. And one of the things we talked about too is we could put like a little toothpick or something in the bin so that if a kid is like, I want this bead, we can see if we can get it clear in the middle. But I love that connection. Just like, yeah, I remember in the video when they made beads out of shells and bones and like, isn't that so cool how these are all so unique and different? So making those connections and thank you I think you covered it. That sounds really good. Does anyone have any questions or concerns or thoughts?
I was going to say that one of the resources that was provided to use, and we do have a big stack of them that could be in the district, is like oh, see my blurring, an example like that's just printed on paper that can help guide them to make a symmetrical pattern or kind of plan out what they want to do before they start stringing individual beads.
We do not have those long beads. And I know you guys know this from the training earlier. We don't have those long beads. They were just too expensive. The quantity was too low in bulk and it just didn't make sense. So be sure to let them know if we show that example that, don't expect it to look just like this. We're going to work with what we've got. It'll be a little different. You are the artist. Go with what we have. Those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, the choice to whether or not to use that would just be on knowing what's going to work best with the students or get advice from the teacher. We mentioned how you might distribute the beads and do them, but also, it's going to be different for different classrooms and different grade levels.
And as Emily pointed out earlier too, if the kids want to trade with the person next to them and they can keep that sort of respectful and peaceful and barter beads back and forth, then they're welcome to do that. And the other thing is when you open when you get the art cart, there's going to be 3 clear bins and the beads will be separated simply because that's how they came. I kept them separated in the beginning. As we're putting away the beads at the end of the project, you're going to have several bowls of just odds and end beads that have all been mixed together. The expectation is not to sit there and sort out every single bead. If we can pick out, maybe some of the really nice big wood beads and maybe put them towards one bin, great. But it's completely understandable that by the end, what were 3 nice clean bins is going to become a little bit more mixed because they'll be mixed in their bowls anyways. So I just want to put that out there.
Yes, thank you. Awesome. That's the project. That's what we're doing. Thank you. If anyone has any questions, please let us know. If you want to join the Art Lit team, please let us know. We'd love to hear from you. It's a lot of fun putting it together. So I know there's been a lot of changes, so thank you for rolling with it and being here tonight on your busy nights and appreciate you all very, very much. So now it's just you can ask some questions if you want to stick around or if you're on your way, feel free to be on your way. I will send these slides to you. I'll send out a recording for folks that wanted to see the recording, and that's it.
Yeah, thanks you three for volunteering. I love the team approach. I'm a big fan of like divide and conquer.
Yeah.
So this is great. So thanks. I'm
Yeah, thank
excited for this lesson.
you. Thank
So yeah,
you.
have a good night, everyone.
Thanks, Monique. Thanks so
Bye.
much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
And stop recording.
Stop recording. Um, Let me just figure out how to do that. Uh, there we go. Oh, wait.
Found my beads. I found the beads I was looking for.
How do I do that?